Alright, hello, I'm Alex Webb, and I'm going to be giving a talk on how to improve education in the United States. So, recently, the United States has taken a lot of heat for how our education system has been running. A lot of people have been claiming that we're falling behind countries such as Japan and China, and that we need to catch up with these countries. But what can we do to catch up with these countries and to improve the situation? So, in my talk, I'm going to give some examples of higher performing countries and things that they do and things that we can incorporate into our education system, but also some things that we're trying to do now to improve it and how these things are going to help us improve. So, the first thing that I'm going to explain is the PISA test. So, what the PISA test does is it's a test that measures critical thinking of about 70 different economies across the globe, and then they rank each country individually from 1 to 70, and this is supposed to give a general idea of how each country is performing educationally. And this test tests reading, mathematics, and science. And there's also an optional financial literacy portion, but not every country takes this part. So according to the PISA website, which is www.oecd.org, the Program for International Student Assessment, or the PISA, is a triennial international survey which aims to evaluate education systems worldwide by testing the skills and knowledge of 15-year-old students. So only a handful of students from each country actually take it while they're in 10th grade. And like I said, it's just supposed to give a general idea of how countries are doing. And according to the PISA test, the U.S. during the last test in 2012 ranked number 27 in the world overall. So just to compare internationally, this means that the U.S. is ranked to countries such as Austria, the Slovak Republic, and Romania, which are not really known as educational powerhouses. So that's actually right around the average. So we're not doing as well as we should be and as well as we could be. And according to the results, the United States performed below average in mathematics, but we performed close to the average in science and reading. So just to put it in perspective, Shanghai, China, which was ranked number 1, China itself did not actually take it as a country of China. It split itself into regions such as Hong Kong and Shanghai. And Shanghai, China is a full 2 years ahead of the strongest performing states in the United States, such as Massachusetts. And according to the results, 1/4 of United States students are actually not proficient in mathematics according to the PISA standards. Another thing that has been going on with the PISA rankings is that the U.S. scores have stagnated for the last 3 tests. We've been right around 25 to 30. This is over the last 10 years. And as you know, over the last 10 years, we've been trying to change our educational legislation to improve education and also improve funding for the U.S. So we're not quite getting our money's worth at this point. And I have a slide in my PowerPoint, which is going to be on Blackboard, and it compares the PISA ranks from 2009 to 2012. So in 2009, math was 32nd, reading we were 17th, and in science we were 23rd. And then in 2012, we moved up to 30th in math, but then we dropped to 20th in reading, and we stayed exactly the same at 23. So even though we've been spending money and changing legislation, we're still just right around the same. So obviously something isn't working. Even though now we spend about $115,000 per student, which is one of the highest numbers in the entire world, we're getting ranked similarly to the Slovak Republic, which spends about $53,000 a student. So we are not getting our money's worth. Something's not adding up. So one reason why we could be falling behind is because there's a lot of socioeconomic gaps between many schools. And this is because, according to the LA Times, many states depend on property taxes to raise school funds, which enable districts with wealthier residents to raise more money. So even though schools get federal and state funding every year, if a school is located in a much richer area with a lot of higher property taxes, they're going to have a lot more resources to do much better things educationally and give their students more opportunities, whereas schools that are in poorer areas are going to fall behind very quickly. So this inequity is what makes Martin Carnoy and Richard Rubinovitz think that the PISA test might have sampling errors. And these two gentlemen are actually both professors at Cornell. One is a professor of economics, the other is a professor in education. And both of them didn't think that the data for the PISA test was representative of the United States. So in a report by Richard Rubinovitz, he claims that about 40% of the PISA sample in the United States was drawn from schools where half or more of the students are eligible for the free lunch program, though only 32% of students nationwide attend such schools. He goes on to report that a disproportionately greater share of United States students come from disadvantaged social class groups, whose performance is relatively low in every country. So what he's trying to get at here is that there was a disproportionate number of underachieving students that actually took the PISA test. So this could have explained why we didn't go up in our rankings, or why we've just been kind of staying the same, because we're having too many people that are not representative of the country taking the test. So this is skewing our results. So what Karno and Rabinovitz did is actually change the composition of the United States to make it actually accurate in what it should be. And they made it similar to the higher ranking countries like China and Finland. So when they did this, the United States ranks actually went up. So the math rank went from 25th to 13th, and the reading rank went from 14th to 6th, although the science rank did not change. And this was done for the 2009 PISA ranks. So this is not the most recent test, but it was the second to last test. So by doing this, this shows that the United States might not be doing as poorly as we thought. Another inequity that schools in the United States have is separating higher performing students from lesser performing ones. So you might know this as a gifted and talented program in your high school, or separating students based on an honors class or an AP class. And one thing that's very different is that countries like China and Japan, who are consistently ranked at the top, they don't do things like this. They keep their students at the same level, and they want everyone to be at the same level. So they keep all their smarter kids and all of their less performing kids in the same classes, because they want everyone to be achieving the same things. So this might be something to kind of take from them and test out here in the States. Another reason why the U.S. could be lacking in rankings simply is our curriculum, the things that we're teaching our students. So to solve this, educators have actually been trying to establish the Common Core curriculum across the country. And at the moment, 43 out of the 50 states have actually adopted it. So it's been a pretty big success trying to adopt this curriculum. And the reason why they're trying to adopt this curriculum is because it encourages critical thinking and real-world problem solving, which are skills that need to be known for the PISA test and to do well on it. So a lot of educators are hoping that by enacting this new curriculum, our scores on the PISA test will improve. But one thing that's come under fire with Common Core is that's very difficult. It can be kind of confusing. In my PowerPoint, which is going to be on Blackboard, I just kind of put up a slide of a confusing problem. And it simply asks to add 26 plus 17. So normally that would just be an easy problem. You know, you carry the one in your head and add it together. But with the Common Core method, it shows that you have to break down the numbers into tens and just kind of guess and check until you get the number right. So it doesn't seem very efficient. It seems like kind of a weird way to learn, but the idea is sound, and it's just trying to make more critical thinking, to make our students better thinkers. And the Common Core is another reason why it's important, is because it will also standardize it will standardize the education across the nation. So instead of having different state requirements, it will just be a national requirement to move on to the next grade level. So this will eliminate gaps between different states, and hopefully it will eliminate gaps between poorer and richer schools. So it's just supposed to get everyone on the same base level, which is things that we've seen in higher ranking countries. So another reason why we might not be doing so well is just our idea of education. One of the things that we emphasize a lot in the United States is standardized testing. This might not be a great thing, just because in higher ranking countries they really don't take many standardized tests. So for example, Finland has only one standardized test in their education system, and that's during your senior year in high school, right before you graduate, just to make sure you have enough knowledge to graduate. And the next country from them, neighboring Norway, has a lot of standardized tests, just like the U.S. They test almost every year like us. And Finland was ranked 12th in the latest test, and Norway was at 30. So they're similar to us, and they have similar ideas about education. So maybe just the idea of so much standardized testing isn't a good thing. Right now I'm just going to talk about Finland and some things they do, and maybe some things we can incorporate into our education system. So Finland was ranked in the top 10 in every PISA except in 2012, where they were ranked 12th. So a lot of people have looked at the way that they do education to try to improve it in their own country. So some things that they do is they have a lot of small class sizes. They don't give much homework, and for elementary school students they offer a lot of extra playtime and recess. And there are also shorter school days, so teachers are able to meet with struggling students after school and give them the help they need, and are able to tutor them one-on-one. So this is the thing that a lot of schools have been trying to enact here. Another thing that Finnish teachers do is that they all have master's degrees, even at the elementary school level. and the government will actually pay for their master's degree, but this is because it's very difficult to get one in Finland. Only about 10% of the applicants that apply for a master's degree in education are accepted into the program. So it's very difficult to do well. And because of this, teachers are very well respected in Finland. They're actually compared to doctors and lawyers. And this is also true in countries such as South Korea. Teaching is seen as a very high demand job. And actually in Korea, teachers are paid, or in South Korea, teachers are paid according to their performance. So they're constantly trying to better themselves. They're constantly in competition with other teachers to get jobs. And because of this, they can actually make a lot of money off of it. So for an example, Kim Ki-hoon is one of the leading English teachers in South Korea, and he made over $4 million last year just from teaching. And in South Korea, if teachers perform poorly, they're actually fired because there's no tenure system. So this is constantly trying to get teachers to do better and better themselves. So something, maybe not completely getting rid of the tenure system, but tenure reform could help students just get better teachers and get more out of their teachers. So in conclusion, the U.S. definitely needs to do something to improve its education. So with stagnant ranks and inequity in schools, we need to get better, whether it's making our teachers better, changing our curriculum, or just simply changing the culture around teaching and education. It needs to change. It needs to change soon for America's future. Thank you.